So now, let's talk about the moneyness of these calls, because moneyness talks about whether or not this call has innate value or not, an intrinsic value or not. Now, in the money calls, they have intrinsic value. Remember, when the house is at 1.2 and we have the in-the-money contract, it had intrinsic value. It had an innate value. So an in-the-money call option has intrinsic value. Sometimes these in-the-money calls even have some extrinsic value, and we're going to talk about that intrinsic and extrinsic value when we get into the bulk of the program. Now, why? It's because this is going to help us value options, and also it's going to help us understand which options that we want to buy at certain times and which options we might want to sell at certain times. So we have to understand in the money, at the money, and out of the money in a minute. Now, an in-the-money option, in this case, an in-the-money call, because we're talking about call options, an in-the-money call is any call whose strike price is less than the stock price, because the strike price is the price at which the deal is going to get struck at. And what we want to do is we want to buy at that strike price, hopefully if the stock is above that strike price. So we have that other term, at the money. Now, an at the money definitely has extrinsic value. If it has any value at all, it has extrinsic value. It might have a little bit of intrinsic value, but normally an at the money call is any call option whose call price is equal to or very close to being equal to the current strike price. Finally, definition of an out-of-the-money call option. An out-of-the-money call option has only extrinsic value. There is no intrinsic, no innate value. Doesn't really bring us anything. Like the house example. If we had a contract that gave us the right to buy the house at 1.2, when the house is really worth about $1 million, it doesn't have any value. It's out of the money. It only has extrinsic value. If anybody buys that option to buy the house at 1.2 million, the money that they're paying is considered extrinsic value. There's no innate value whatsoever. So the out-of-the-money call has a strike price that's greater than the current stock price. All right, so I hate when I see too many hypothetical examples and these big bubble letters here. So, it's not the real thing, and you're not going to be playing with Monopoly money or bubble money. So let's look at a real example. Here's how it's going to look on your computer. Let's check this out. Let's go over it in real life. In the money. Now, what we're looking at here is a stock trading at 99.66. These are all the strike prices that you have here. The strike prices are 80, 85, 90, 95. 100 is where it starts to become out of the money. It's actually at the money if any of these options are considered at the money, and we'll get to that in a minute. But everything below that is considered to be in the money. We have a stock trading at 99.66. That means that any strike price below 99.66 is an in-the-money call. Because if I buy the stock at 95, if I sell it at 99.66, it has some real value. In fact, it has $4.66 of real value. So it has $4.66 of intrinsic value. I'll also look at the 90s. The 90s have $9.66 of intrinsic value. Now, we're talking about in-the-money calls, and we said in-the-money calls always have intrinsic value. They'll always have a strike price lower than the stock price. But we also say it probably has extrinsic value. If we look at the 90 calls, so we have easy math here, 99.66 is the price of the stock. If we could buy it at 90 and sell it at 99.66, we're going to walk away with $9.66 in profit. That's $9.66 of intrinsic value. But if you look closely here, you can see that these are trading at $11.85. Much more than $9.66 of intrinsic value. So we say in-the-money calls are going to have intrinsic value and probably some extrinsic value. $9.66 of this 90 strike is intrinsic value. The rest of this value that gets you up to $11.85 is extrinsic value. Okay? So just keep in mind, all of these options here with the strike prices that are lower than the stock price will give you the right to buy the stock at a lower price than you see it there on the chart. Stock's still at 99.66. Stock hasn't done anything. You can see that on the chart. Now, you look at this 100 call option, gives you the right to buy at 100. This is not an in-the-money call. This is slightly out of the money. It's out of the money by 34 cents. Now, how would this become an in-the-money call? Well, if the stock moved above 100, then it would be an in-the-money call because it would have intrinsic value. So let's just say the stock moved to 120 from 99 and change. Now you can see that the stock moved from 100 to 120, or 120.22, and you can see that everything from 120, technically, because it's in the money by 22 cents, and below is an in-the-money call option. We had a strike price in the other example at 100. The strike price of 100 is in the money by 20 points right now, 20 and 22 cents. So remember, this gives you the right to buy the stock at 100. If you were to buy the stock at 100 and sell it at the market, that would be all profit, and that's all intrinsic value. Here's the stock at 120. You can see that we get further up, and the strike price is 115. This is still in the money by a little bit more than 5 points. And you can see it's trading at 605. So $5.22 is going to be intrinsic value. The rest of it's going to be extrinsic value, and we'll go over that more soon. If you're not catching it right now, don't worry about it. But all of these are in the money because the stock is now at 120. So anything from 120 down, the stock is at 120.22, sorry. So everything from 120 down is in the money. Now, technically, let's talk about at the money. Technically, the 120 call is what we would consider to be at the money because there has to be an option that's at the money. So if this 120, if this stock was at 121 or 121 and 50 cents or something like that, the 120 is going to be the closest strike price. We have to consider one of these strike prices to be at the money at all times. So the 120, while in reality is 22 cents in the money, while in reality it has 22 cents of intrinsic value, the reality is that that is what we're going to refer to as the at-the-money call. That's why it says it has extrinsic value, possibly intrinsic value. Now, if this stock were down at 119 and 80 cents, it would have no intrinsic value. It would be out of the money by 20 cents. But that would still consider the 120 strike the at-the-money call in this case because the 120 strike is what the stock price is closest to. Now, when the stock was down at $99.66, the 100 call was technically the at-the-money call. Has no intrinsic value. So remember, it has extrinsic value, has no intrinsic value. This remains the same. An at-the-money call has extrinsic, possibly intrinsic. In this case, it does not have intrinsic. You can see that this is actually out of the money by 34 cents. So why is it trading at 520? It's trading at 520. That's all extrinsic value. That entire part is affected by time decay, and we'll get to that in a minute. Stock moves up to 120 or 120.22. 120 becomes the at-the-money call. If the stock were to go to 200 or 250 cents, the 200 strike would be the at-the-money call, and so on and so on. Now let's talk about out of the money. The out-of-the-money call is the strike price that's above the stock price. Now remember what we said in the last example. Stock's at 99.66. Technically, the 100 is slightly out of the money, but we're going to call that the at-the-money because one of these has to be the at-the-money. So everything above the actual stock price, all these strike prices are out of the money. No intrinsic value in any of these. You could see that the 105 call, which gives us the right to buy the stock at 105, is trading at $3. That $3 is entirely extrinsic value. There's no intrinsic value in any of these because if I bought the stock at 105, I'd be silly. Stock's trading at 99.66. I can buy it in the open market for 99.66. There's no reason for me to buy it at 105. So the fact that this is trading at $3 tells me that this entire thing is extrinsic value. Or the fact that these are all out of the money, I should say, tells me that all of these are priced only with extrinsic value. There's no real innate value. There's no real reason why I'd want to buy this at 105, 110, 115, or 120. All these are out of the money. So let's just do a very quick review of what we just said. I'm sure you have it already drilled into your head, but we're talking about the moneyness. Stock's at 99.66. That means anything below the 100 strike price is in the money. Technically, we said that's in the money. We're going to use that as our at the money, though. These are all in the money call options. Stock at 99.66. That means the closest strike price is the 100 strike. That's the at the money. And everything above that is out of the money. This is all extrinsic value. Everything in the money is intrinsic value and extrinsic value. At the money, guaranteed you're going to have extrinsic value, possibly some intrinsic value. In this case, there's no intrinsic value at the money because We're talking about a strike price that's higher than the actual stock price. So again, everything from here is in the money. 100 strike, since we're looking at a 99.66 stock, 100 strike is at the money. Everything above that, out of the money. All extrinsic value. These are the higher risk options if you're the buyer. Now let's talk for a little while about put options. Now, remember, we're in options basics mode. So we're just trying to get some basic concepts down that we can build on a little bit later. So we're going to be going through all of this in more depth, but we want you to have a very nice, solid foundation to work off of, and you want to have a nice background and a nice place to start from. So when we're looking at a put option, what do we say that we should try to keep in our head when we're talking about put options? What have I repeated several times over? Well, we said that from the standpoint of the mechanism, mechanically, these put options are going to be working just like what? The call options. They're going to be working just like call options, just in the other direction. So let's try to keep that in mind here, okay? Now let's take a look at an example of a put option. Very similar to the example of the call option. Here we're going to be buying 20 of the Schlumberger May 40 puts for $3. Now let's break this down one by one. Once again, just a quick refresher. We're buying. We're not selling, but we're buying. So buy means buy. We know that we need to know which side of the trade we're going to be on. If we're the seller, we're receiving the $3, but instead here, we're paying $3 times 100 contracts. So it's $300 for every one of these put options that we're going to buy. This gives us the right to sell at 40. We're going to get to that in a minute. Word right there means buy. 20 means we're going to be buying 20 option contracts, in this case puts. 20 is the volume, it's the amount of contracts. Now remember, how much does each one of those contracts represent in terms of shares? Each contract represents 100 shares, so 20 contracts represents what? Add 2 zeros to the 20, represents 2,000 shares. That's the way I like to do the math. Everybody does it differently. I like to just add 2 zeros here. And the reason I like to just add the 2 zeros to the number of option contracts is because you might not just be paying 3. You might be paying $3.85. The math starts to get weird. 20 contracts, 20, add 2 more zeros. It's 2,000 shares times 3. Okay, just moving right along here to SLB. SLB is just the stock symbol. And remember, we said that SLB means Schlumberger. Schlumberger is the stock that we're contracting to be able to sell at 40. Next thing we're going to look at is May. Now, remember we discussed this earlier. May is a month, and it comes after April. It comes right before June. So write that down. Okay, we know it expires in May. In May, what day does it expire on? Third Friday of the month. 40, that's the strike price. It's the exercise price. 40 is the price that we are able to sell this stock at, or 40 is the price that we're able to sell short the stock at. Maybe we own the stock, and if the stock tanks, we can sell it at 40. Maybe we don't own the stock. We still own the right to sell it at 40. We're just going to be selling it short at 40, which is still a good thing if the stock moves lower. Now, it's even a better thing, actually, because you're aggressively being bearish and you're taking a profit instead of bailing yourself out of a big loss. Now, we have to look at that 3 one more time. 3 is the price per share per contract. And that just means that $3 is the price of the option contract. What we have to remember is the price of the per share contract. That means that it's not as though I go and I buy the option for $3. $3, it's not going to get me very far here. Since each contract represents 100 shares, when we see that it trades at 3, we know that each contract is $300. Simple enough. Let's talk about how much this trade is going to cost us. So what we're going to keep in mind are 2 numbers out of the 3 numbers that you see here. Forget about the strike price for a second. The May 40 puts gives us the right to sell the stock at 40. Forget that for a second. We're just talking about how many contracts there are, how much we're going to pay per contract. Every contract represents 100 shares of stock. So the way that I like to do the math, and there's really 2 ways that you can do the math here, but the way that Chris Rowe likes to do the math, to make it simple, is just add 2 zeros to the number of contracts that we're talking about. We're talking about 20 contracts, so it's like talking about 2,000 shares. I like to just pretend that the option's a stock, and I say 2,000 shares of, say, the stock at 3. 2,000 shares of a stock at 3, simple math, $6,000. Okay, some people like to do it the other way, though. Depends on how your mind works. Just do whatever's comfortable. we could say that at $3 a share, we know that that $3 really represents $300 because it represents 100 shares. So now we're multiplying 100 by this number instead. So at $3 a share, each contract's going to be $300, 3 times 100. If we're buying 20 put option contracts or 20 of any option contracts at 3, basically what we're doing is we're taking, we can multiply 20 by 100 or we can multiply 3 by 100. Either way, it gives us 2,000 shares. $6,000 is the cost. The math, I think, was pretty simple. If this were 10 option contracts, it would represent 1,000 shares. I would just say 1,000 times 3 is 3,000. The math is simple. 30 contracts, I would just make that 3,000 shares. 3,000 times 3, we're talking about $9,000. Just know that it doesn't represent $3. It's $300 per option contract. This number represents, technically, the strike price. So 2,000 shares at $40, what this does is it gives you the right to sell 2,000 shares of Schlumberger at $40 per share. So maybe you own Schlumberger and you want to just buy some insurance, and then maybe you own 2,000 shares of the stock, and so you buy the 20 contracts to insure your 2,000 shares of stock, ensure that you could sell it at $40, which is the strike price. Or maybe you don't own Schlumberger and you're just being aggressively bearish on it because you see a lot of red flags that tell you Schlumberger is about to tank. You see a lot of different technical indicators. Maybe Sector Hunter said that the oil service sector went on a sell signal. You use your charts to time the trade right. You think it's about to tank. You just buy the put options for 3. And what that technically does, since you don't own the stock, gives you the right to sell short the stock at 40. So if the stock drops to $20, technically, if you wanted to actually exercise, you could short the stock from 40, buy it back at 20 simultaneously, and you make 20 points. Remember, people don't really do that. What they do is they'll just buy it. They'll buy the option contract for 3. This option, in that case, would probably go to about $21. They just sell it out at $21. So let's talk for a little while about how a put option is very much like car insurance. Just like with the house purchase example, the most that we stood to lose in that case was the $20,000 that we put down. We used $20,000 to control $1 million asset, if you remember. Now, the most that we stood to lose was that $20,000 if the market went down. But when it went up 20%, we made a relatively huge profit based on the amount of money that we put up. We put up 20, we made 180 on our 20. It was amazing. Now, we tried to draw the analogy with calls, and we said it was like signing a contract to buy a house. Puts are a little bit different. There is an analogy that works very well. With put options, we're talking about an analogy with car insurance. If you think about it for a second, every month you're paying a premium, right? Just like with car insurance, every month you're paying a premium, and if you want to ensure that you're able to sell your stock at a particular price, you might buy a new put option every month. Every month you're paying a premium to the car insurance company to make sure that if someone smashes your car because he was drunk one night, then we're paying a certain amount of money to make sure that if something happened to our car, we can actually give the car back. In essence, we can, or else they'll pay for the damages. Now, just like a put option, car insurance expires at some point. You have to renew your policy. If we want to keep the insurance policy, we have to renew it, and we have to buy a further out expiration, if you will. So until then, if our stock drops, the put option can bail us out. And it could let us sell our car, basically, or our stock at that higher price than it's really worth. So if we wreck our car and we return the car to the insurance company, they're either going to fix it, they're going to make it look like new, or they're just going to give us a new car. Now, why the heck would they just give us a new car? Because they're collecting the premiums. Every single month they're collecting premiums from us and thousands or millions of other people. And that's why it actually makes sense to be a put seller sometimes. You're just selling insurance. So if the business model for an insurance company makes sense, then selling puts makes sense. Now, if we don't use our insurance, it's basically going to expire worthless, and we're going to lose the premium. You think about how car insurance really works. If you wreck your car, you're going to have to pay a deductible. So you're going to have to buck up. You're going to have to absorb some of the loss that you take when you wreck your car. So maybe your car repair costs maybe $5,000, but you have to take $1,000 of that loss by yourself. You have to pay it yourself. But that's a lot better than taking the full $5,000 loss. That's how it can work when it comes to put options, too. You could set it up so you only pay a little bit for the put options. You don't waste a lot of money on that stock insurance. But if something happens, you might have to pay the deductible. We'll talk about how that works. And best to use a real-life example again with IBM here. Now let's say I own IBM stock. So I bought IBM at 120 because I think it's going to go up to $200 a share. But instead of going up to $200 a share, it goes down to 80. So a put option, if I own one, would allow me to give that stock back to somebody at potentially a higher price. Now, if I bought the stock at 120 and I bought the May 110 puts, remember what the put gives me. It gives me the right, but not the obligation, to sell the stock to someone else at 110 anywhere between now and May expiration. So if the stock drops 80, 50, or 20 or whatever, I can exercise my rights under the put option, and I can actually sell the stock at 110, even though it's trading down here at $80 a share. So whoever sold me that put option, she has to buy the stock at 110. She is basically obligated to buy the stock at 110 because she's the seller of the put. She's obligated to pay $110 per share, just like she said that she would. So even though the stock has dropped dramatically, I won't have a very big loss because my put contract gives me the right to sell the stock over to her, put it to her, as the terminology is, at $110 per share. That's why we have a saying in the options market, puts are your pals. Because in the last bear market, for example, if you understood put options, you could have used your put like car insurance, except it wouldn't be car insurance. Your put would have been like portfolio insurance. Instead of wrecking your car, your portfolio might have got wrecked, but you could have used your portfolio insurance to sell at the higher price. You could have actually, when the market started collapsing, given your entire portfolio to somebody else at a much higher price than where the entire market ended up, or should I say ended down. Now, that's how you protect yourself in the options market, using puts. But instead of using puts for protection or for portfolio insurance of my bullish positions, here's what I did at my options trading service, the TrendRider. I started emailing our members and I started exiting bullish positions, selling out of all of my call options, or most of my call options, unfortunately not all, but most. But then we went on the offensive and we started aggressively buying put options on 6 different stocks. In September, right before the market tanked by about 30%, 5 out of 6 put options made about 50% average, and the 6th made 120%, and that's just in a few weeks. So you can make huge profits in a short period of time when the market tanks. You don't have to sit there and always think from the perspective of bullish trading. So let's get back to our example and look at what happened to the price of the put options when IBM dropped like that. Because you didn't have to own the stock. Remember, you could have just anticipated a drop in IBM and bought the put as a bearish position. When it dropped, you would have profited big time. Let's take a quick look. Here's IBM's option chain. You could see the put options after the stock tanked. Here it's at 91.52. You can see the 110 puts right here are at 20. Started out at $1.02. That's when the stock was at 121.73. So when the stock dropped to $92.21, these put options traded up to about 18.20 bid. Now, this is an extreme example. You're using put options. They happen to explode. They also happen to be pretty risky put options. They were way out of the money. And we're going to talk about the difference between the riskier put options and the ones that hold less risk a little bit later. That's why the put options that I recommended to our members of the TrendRider only made about 50 or 120%, because they were the type of options that held much less risk at the time. If I wanted to take a big risk and risk everything, then we could have made 1,000%, like these IBM options turned out to make 1,000%. The point is that you can see the price of the puts go up, and you can just buy and then sell the put options at that higher price. So think of puts as kind of like car insurance. Now, when we go ahead and we actually buy a put option, we're paying a certain price for it. That price that we're paying is kind of like the premiums that you pay on your car insurance, right? So we know that the car insurance, that the policy actually expires at some point. It doesn't last forever. At some point, you're going to have to pay them more money to keep insuring you. That car insurance policy expires just like the put option expires. We know that if we crash and we burn our stock, with the put option, we have the right to give that stock to somebody else, just get our money back. Now, there's one other similarity that we talked about, the deductible. Remember I said you have a deductible sometimes when we were doing the comparison to car insurance. You could see here that I bought IBM at 120, and the put option with a strike price of 110. My deductible was that I lost 10 points because I bought at 120 and the put option allowed me to sell at 110. My deductible was that 10 points. It's better than selling at $80 or $70 a share. The 10-point loss is the deductible that I would pay my car insurance company when I have to absorb some of that loss. Now remember, if we smash and burn our car, we send it to the insurance company, we say, hey, take this one back, I need a new one, and then they give you the value of the new one. If we never smash our car, what's going to happen to the price of our insurance? Well, what would happen to what we paid for the insurance is it would disappear. So we paid money to the insurance company. We never actually had to use the insurance company, but we kept paying it, and the money that we paid disappeared. All that money would be considered wasted, right? Because if we never smash our car and we collect on our insurance policy, the money that we put out is gone. So it's just the same with options contracts. Once you spend the money's gone. If I buy the right to sell something by purchasing a put and I decide never to execute on that put option contract, then the money that I pay for that put option is lost. So let's take a quick look at the chart again. Say at the end of 2009, right here, after this stock tanked, the end of 2009, I decided to buy the stock again at $80 a share where the green dot just popped up. Now, I buy the 70 put option where the black line is. And I bought that for protection because I thought I was really smart this time, which I was. It really paid off. It was a smart thing to do. And, well, just as a side quiz, first of all, stock's trading at 80 right here. So I bought the 70 put option. Now, is the 70 put option in the money or out of the money? Well, if you said that they're out of the money, then you were right. There's no intrinsic value. The stock's at 80. Why would I actually exercise my right to sell it at 70? That'd be pretty foolish. 70 is lower than 80, okay? Back to the story. I bought the stock and the insurance to sell it at 70 if I had to. And that was actually a great decision because the stock moved higher. Now, it wasn't a bad decision that I bought the insurance. It was a good decision because I bought the stock and it went up. I made money on the stock. I bought IBM at 80, went up to about 90 and change. But remember, I bought insurance by purchasing that put option. So let's see what happened to the value of my put option that I had as insurance. Here we see that the stock started out at $80.52 when I went in and I bought the stock. Remember, I bought the 70 put option right here. So if the stock dropped below $70 and went to 50 or 40 or 30 or something, I would have the right to sell at 70. Someone out there would have had the obligation to buy it from me at 70 as they were the seller of the put option that I bought. So the put was at 70 cents. When we bought the put for insurance, stock was at $80.52. As you can see, the options went to zero. I mean, there's zero bid, there's 5 offer, but if you want to try to sell these, there's no bid for it. Okay, so people are saying if you want to buy it, you can buy it at 5 cents, but there's no bid. Nobody's willing to buy this. Zero bid. So I made money on the stock. I lost money on that option. That's totally cool with me. But the stock went up. When I made money on the stock, you have to remember somebody else made money on this put option. I might have made slightly less than I would have had I not used the put as insurance. But remember, in this case, somebody out there who sold me that put at 70 cents made money. There's always somebody on the other side of the trade. So they kept that 70 cents that I paid them, and that was a profit to them. So, you know, back to the car insurance thing, it's the same exact thing. If every year I pay $2,000 in car insurance, $2,000 for the insurance, if I didn't, you know, break my car that year or crash it that year, what have I basically lost? Well, basically I lost $2,000. But that insurance is there just in case. So believe me, nobody ever wants to actually collect on their car insurance policy. I sure as heck don't want to collect on my life insurance policy. But you still buy it. It's still a smart hedge. It's the right thing to do. So what do we have? Remember, we have long calls that are giving us the right to buy something, short calls that are giving us the obligation to sell something, if you remember the house example. And then we have long puts, and that the long puts give us the right to do what? They give us the right to sell. Short puts give us the obligation to buy. So if you remember, the short puts was the person that sold me that insurance at 70 cents. They kept the 70 cents. Stock went up. They won. Now, a few moments ago, we were talking about in the money. We were also talking about at the money. I think we were talking about out of the money a little bit. Here's in the money. Let's just go over one more time the moneyness of puts. We said that we can describe an option's value based upon its moneyness. We say that we can describe the value based on whether it's in the money, at the money, or out of the money. So these are all basic principles of options. Let's talk a little bit about these basic principles that we have here: in the money, at the money, and out of the money. Basic principle number one that you need to know, and this is probably the only real basic principle of in the money, at the money, and out of the money that you need to know. It really concerns the actual strikes or the location of the strikes. Lower strike calls must be more valuable than higher strike calls in the same month. Remember, when we're talking about call options, what are we talking about? We're talking about the right to buy. And we're talking about the right to buy, we can go back to that old market adage, buy low, sell high. So a lower strike, remember what the strike price actually does. The strike price tells us what price the option is going to be executed to buy something. So what that means is we want to buy at the lower price. Let's take a look at the IBM option chain here. Here are the call options on the left-hand side. You can see that the stock is at 101.89 in this example. So the lower strike prices that you see over here, 80, 85, remember, when we're going up, these are the lower strike prices. It goes from 100, 95, 90, 85, and so on. The lower strike prices, the lower that call option gives us the right to buy the stock at. Okay, so in the middle, you see the strike price right here. And it depends on the screen, on the trading platform that you use. Most trading platforms are going to share the strike price and share the month for the puts and for the calls. Right now we're talking about calls. So we're looking at the strike price right here, 80, 85, 90, 95, and so on. Okay, and then you see the blue box around the bids and the ask prices of all the options that are listed on the option chain. All right, so you can see the blue box is around the bid and asking prices, and the red box is around the strike prices. So if the stock's at 101 and change, and you can buy it at 95, you're up $6 and change on it. When the stock's at 101 and you can buy it at 80, that you see right here, then you're up $21 on it. Now remember, the lower strikes are worth more to us. So the lower the strike price is, the more the option is going to cost you. And that's because they are more valuable. They give you the right to buy at a lower price. So you can see the prices, the bid and the ask prices are higher as the strike price moves lower. So the strike price that we're looking at here, let's just say 115, okay? We're looking at a 115 strike price at 50 cents by 65. Now, if we moved lower in strike prices, you could see that the bid and the ask move up. We're at 95, it's 920. We go all the way down to 80, and we're at 2240, okay? So let's back up to 100 strike price right here. And you can see this is trading at 560 by 580, okay? So with the 100 strike and the stock at 101.89, we know that this is in the money by $1.89. If we use the IBM 100 call to buy IBM at 100, we'd be able to sell it at the market price of 101.89, and that means it's 189 in the money. The actual price of the option is about 570, the average price between the bid and the ask. Now, look at the 95 calls, for example. They're at $9 per share or per option contract. We go much deeper in the money to the 80 calls, and we see that they trade at 22.20 by 22.40. So again, when it comes to calls, because it's giving us the right to buy, we all know that when you want to buy lower. The lower the strike value for the call is, the 80 strike, it's going to be worth more than the 95 call because I know that I'd rather buy something at 80 than at 95. So let's take a look at a couple of coupons here. Now let's talk about one of my favorite topics, pizza. Take a look at the two coupons. You're going to see them on the board both for Ron and Chris's Pizza. I think that's a pretty cute little thing that we did here. The two coupons look to be the same. You get to pick 3 toppings on a single pizza, and the coupon on the left says that you can do it for $10. The coupon on the right gives you the same exact ability, only you're going to pay $20. So which coupon's more valuable? Obviously the one that has the lower price on it. And why? That's because we're buying pizza, aren't we? So the less money we spend purchasing the pizza, the more valuable the coupon's going to be. So basically it has a lower strike price. I'd rather own the one large pizza with 3 toppings for $10 than to have to go out and buy the same exact pizza for $20. So when we're thinking about calls and we're thinking about the right to buy, we can actually understand that the lower strike price calls are going to be more valuable than the higher strike price calls because we find more value in buying something cheaper than more expensive. Sounds pretty obvious, but we go over it a lot until we drill it in your head. Then you're going to be an options wizard. Now, it's the same idea. Same principle holds true with put options, except it's the opposite. Why? Because with a put option, we don't have the right to buy. We have the right to sell something. And we know that we're supposed to sell high. Buy low, sell high. So that means that the higher strike puts are going to have more value than the lower strike puts, of course, in the same exact month. Something that gives you the right to sell higher is going to have more value than something that gives you the right to sell at the lower price. So when we're thinking about call options, we're thinking about the right to buy. We can actually understand that the lower strike price calls are going to be more valuable than the higher strike price calls because we find more value in buying cheaper than buying more expensive. It's the same idea when it comes to put options, only it's the opposite. Why? Because with a put, we don't have the right to buy, we have the right to sell. When we're selling, we'd rather sell at a price that's higher. So that means that the higher strike puts here are going to be more valuable than the lower strike puts, of course, all in the same month. You can see as we go higher in strike prices, it's more beneficial for us to sell higher. So you can see that the prices here increase as the strike prices increase. So would you rather sell? You have to ask yourself something. You know, when it comes down to put options, the higher strike puts are going to be more valuable than the lower strike puts always. Puts give you the right to sell something. The puts that give you the right to sell something at a higher price are going to be more valuable every time. Think about it. Very simple math. Would you rather sell something at 80 or would you rather sell it at 110? Well, you'd rather sell it at 110. Okay, so now we're going to go back to the IBM option chain here. Back to the IBM option chain. Instead of looking at the call options on the left that gave us the right to buy stock, we're going to look at the put options on the right that give us the right to sell stock over here. Now, we use the same column with the same strike prices that we used before in the call options. But unlike the call options that act like coupons that give us the right to buy stock at different prices, put options give us the right to sell stock. And we want to sell the stock at the highest possible price. Higher the price, the better. The higher the strike prices are going to be more valuable and thus more expensive, like we said before. The 80 strike is about 20 cents. So let's see. The stock is trading just under 90 or at 91.50. The 80 strike, 20 cents. 80 strike gives us the ability to sell the stock at 80, but it's trading at 91.52, so it's not going to be that expensive, and there's not that much time before the expiration. The 85 strike is at about 45 by 55 cents, and the 90 strike is even more expensive at 145 by 170. So this is exactly how it's going to look when you pull up your option chain, and so on and so on and so on. Okay, so you might remember that we said that an in-the-money call might have, well, definitely will have intrinsic value, and maybe we'll have a little bit of extrinsic value. And so, you know, we're going to define intrinsic and extrinsic value pretty soon, but in-the-money calls have intrinsic value. In-the-money puts have intrinsic value, guaranteed. That's what makes them in the money. At the money may or may not, but definitely has extrinsic value. Out of the money is pretty much always going to have extrinsic value. So, you know, we're going to look at how these strike prices, how the options got more expensive, and we have to get a little bit more specific with our values, and obviously later in the program we're going to get much, much, much more specific. But let's talk a little bit about the different types of option values out there, okay? Now, you have two types of option values. In other words, two parts to the price of an option. You have intrinsic value and extrinsic value. We're going to talk about both of them as we talk about in the money, out of the money, and at the money. The option's price can be broken down into intrinsic value and extrinsic value. The two parts make up the option's actual price. The price may consist of both, or it just might have only one or only the other. If there's neither, then the option's going to be trading at zero. Here in the hypothetical, you can see the option's trading at 50. It's $10 in the money, so it has $10 of intrinsic value. The rest is always going to be the extrinsic value, the $5 that you see right here. So to determine if there's intrinsic value in an option, just determine if there's an immediate benefit to owning that option. The immediate benefit that you're going to get is going to be the intrinsic value. So let's take a quick look and discuss this. You have your call and you have your put option. Now, if the strike price is 10, that gives you the right to buy at 10. If the strike price is 10 and the stock's trading at 15, that was our last example, you're going to have $5 of intrinsic value, $5 of immediate value. Okay, so if you can buy at 10, you can immediately sell at 15, $5 of intrinsic value. Talking about the put option now. Stock is at $4. Now, if the strike gives you the right to sell it at 10, how much immediate value is there going to be? $6 of intrinsic value. So intrinsic value just means immediate value. We know an option price has extrinsic value if the price of the option price is more than the intrinsic value. That'll almost always be the case. In other words, the option price minus intrinsic value gives you your extrinsic value. So you look at the price, figure out how much intrinsic value is, it's how much in the money it is. The rest is going to be extrinsic, okay? Now, let's talk a little bit about the extrinsic value. The extrinsic value is the portion of the option's price that disappears, it basically erodes over time. Why? Well, remember why it's there. The reason it's there in the first place is that people are willing to pay more than the intrinsic value for an option because it has time before expiration to possibly be more beneficial. So an option that doesn't expire for a year or so might be worth one price, and another similar option that expires in just a month or so is going to be worth a lot less, a completely different price. So the extrinsic value portion declines over time. The intrinsic portion remains the same over time. Let's take a look over here. You can see on the screen here that this option represents this image represents an $8 option where $7 is intrinsic value and the $8 up here is extrinsic value. Basically, it's 7 points in the money. Now, this is a 9-month option. So this happens over the course of 9 months. The extrinsic portion declines over that 9 months. The option in this case would end up being worth $7 since the extrinsic value has deteriorated over that 9 months. So we're imagining now that the stock price just stays exactly the same, and over time, this last part is going to decrease. So the extrinsic value is also known as time value. The process that we just looked at of that extrinsic value or time value eroding over time is a process known as time decay. You probably heard that term before. The passing of time only affects the extrinsic value portion of the option. It does not affect the intrinsic value portion of the option's price, just like you saw in the last picture. So you know that only $1 of that $8 option can actually be affected by time decay. So when you buy an option and you want to take advantage of a movement in the underlying stock or ETF, the idea is to buy options that don't have much extrinsic value. Here's why. Here's an option that has a little bit less than half of its price as extrinsic value. Remember, there are options out there that look like this. They're all extrinsic. Those are out of the monies. This is one that's probably just about at the money. Okay? Now, why would there be any more value above the intrinsic value? Why do we have this? Because the option may be used for a long time, and circumstances might change. So the option has a possibility of being worth a lot more in the future, and it holds less risk, like we said in the house purchase example. So traders are willing to pay a lot of extra money for the time for things to change, hopefully in the way that they expected. So let's go back to our pizza analogies. So here's the same pizza example from before. Now let's assume that pizzas are selling for $15 right now, $15. We have a coupon that gives us the right to buy a pizza at 10. All right, let's talk about the pizza in terms that we would use for option trading. Now, we would say that this pizza coupon is $5 in the money. Coupon has $5 of value, immediate value, intrinsic value. It's like a call option giving us the right to buy something at a cheaper price. It's in the money. So we can pay $10 for a $15 pizza. That means it's $5 in the money. That coupon has real intrinsic value. How much intrinsic value would it have? Well, how much is it saving us? Saving us $5, right? We're able to buy a $15 pizza for $10, so it's saving us $5. Intrinsic value of the coupon is $5. There's an immediate benefit for us. Instead of just going up and having to take a 10 and a 5 out of our wallet, we can just go there and take a 10 out of our wallet, leave the 5 there for something else. So we have intrinsic value there of $5. It's in the money by $5. Well, let's look at another example. Let's look at a new coupon, same coupon with a new price. Pizza's actually trading for 10. Pizza's selling for 10. The coupon lets you buy it at 10. Great. Pizzas are already selling at 10, so what good's the coupon? Well, the answer is the coupon might be worth something to somebody who thinks that the price of pizza may go up soon. So maybe there's some big speculation. Word on the street is that pizza prices are going to go up. So I'll get to that in a minute, but there's currently no intrinsic value, no immediate value in the coupon. The coupon is at the money. The stock or the pizza is at 10. The coupon or the option is giving you the right to buy it at 10. So what would we have saved? Nothing. There's no intrinsic value in the coupon. It gives us the right to buy at 10. It's already trading at or selling at 10. No intrinsic value whatsoever. It's at the money. Now, let's look at a coupon that would be considered out of the money. Still a $10 coupon, but pizza now is selling at $8 per pie, per share. That means there would be zero intrinsic value, because if we bought at 10 using the coupon, first of all, it would be crazy because pizza is selling for $8. But if we bought at 10 and then we sold the pizza in the market at $8, we wouldn't gain anything. In fact, we would lose $2. There's no intrinsic value. There's no immediate value. In other words, the coupon is out of the money. Out of the money options don't have intrinsic value at all. Since pizza is actually trading at 8, coupon gives us the right to buy at 10, 2 points out of the money. Now, let's talk about this a little bit more. Think about this. What if pizzas, and I'm getting hungry right now, by the way, what if pizzas were only selling for $8? Is there any immediate value? No, there's not. There's nothing. But here's the thing. What if there is some serious speculation out there by one of the savviest pizza eaters in the world that the pizza store is eventually going to raise its prices to $13? Well, there's no immediate value right here with this coupon, and there's no intrinsic value. But the coupon, when we compare it to the way that the option market works, has a different kind of value. It has extrinsic value. If someone's willing to pay for this coupon, then it has extrinsic value. So this coupon didn't have any value today with pizzas at 8, might suddenly in 6 weeks from now have a value if the pizzas, the prices jack up from 8 to about 13. So this coupon, because it hasn't expired yet, has a value even with pizzas now selling at $8. And because the coupon still has time, there's always the possibility that the pizza place will bump up the price to 13. Maybe I got inside information. I know pizza's going to 13. The coupon will then have value. What value is it going to have? Obviously, there's no intrinsic value because right now there's no immediate benefit. So how do we price this? If we kept this coupon and pizza prices didn't go up, then it would have no intrinsic value. In fact, if it expired, it would expire worthless. But it does have some kind of value right now because there's a long time till expiration. It has extrinsic value. Well, maybe someone is willing to pay me 80 cents for that coupon. Now I'm the seller of the coupon. Maybe someone's willing to pay me 80 cents for that coupon because they know that it might save them $3 later on. It's a gamble. But maybe it's a good call. Maybe somebody goes around and buys millions of these coupons for 80 cents because they're savvy pizza coupon investors. The 80 cents that they would pay me is the extrinsic value of the coupon. So the idea that there's potential for this coupon to sometime, maybe in the future, have intrinsic value gives it a value. And that value is the extrinsic value, all affected by time decay right there. So out of the money options, although not having any immediate benefit, no intrinsic value, as we've seen in the other examples, are going to have extrinsic value, unless it's just completely way out of the money and it's going to expire tomorrow or something like that. They won't be worth just simply nothing. Now, if the value of pizza never goes above $10, the coupon is going to expire worthless. And the closer we get to the expiration date, the less value that this coupon is going to have in the pizza coupon market. But let's just say pizza prices jump to 13. Well, here's what would happen to the value of the coupon to buy it at $10. It's going to have $3 of intrinsic value here. And here's a coupon trading at $3.80. Maybe people think that the price might go up to 20, so they're willing to pay more than the immediate value, the intrinsic value. Anything they're willing to pay above the intrinsic value is the extrinsic value, which still will decay over time, over the course of that 9 months, as we approach the expiration date. So if that happened, the option would no longer be out of the money. The option, or the coupon in this case, would now be in the money by $3. So any value in the option above the intrinsic value is due to time and volatility. Traders, and maybe even you, are sometimes willing to pay not for the intrinsic value, but for the extrinsic value, because you're paying for time and you're paying for volatility. You're willing to pay for something that might pay off, in the future. So look at it this way. When I talk about paying for volatility, if pizzas go from 8 to 13 to 20, back down to 8 and 5, the options trading on that pizza or the coupons are going to be expensive, and I'm going to be able to explain why I want to charge you a lot of money for the coupons, because it's historically goes up and down, and it's really crazy when it comes to pizza prices. Or if pizza just stayed for the last 25 years at $8, the coupons, the extrinsic value, it's not going to be much at all, because people are going to say that's a silly bet. For the last several decades, pizza hasn't done anything in terms of price. So the idea is we're going to pay some money now with the idea that future movement, future situation of the stock may change. And with the idea that a small amount of money of extrinsic value that we put in now might be worth intrinsic value at a later date. That's why out-of-the-money options, although not with any intrinsic value, do have actual value that people will pay, because we're talking about something that's off in the future, and there's an expiration date, so something might happen between now and then, so just keep that in mind. This is $3 in the money because the pizza price went up to $13. This is trading at $3.80. 80 cents of that is extrinsic value, because who knows, maybe it goes to 20 bucks. But as of right now, we know we can get this $3. And that's the way that option prices work. Let's talk more about option values here. Now let's look at a picture that we were looking at before of the $8 call option. It's trading at $8. Call option's in the money by 7 points, so it has $7 of intrinsic value. That $7 of intrinsic value will not be affected whatsoever by time passing. That's the beauty of in-the-money options. And of course, this is in the money by 7 points. Now, the in-the-money amount is intrinsic value. The rest of it is extrinsic value. The extra $1 at the top is extrinsic. Now, you can see at the top that the $8 is divided into 3 parts. Okay? Each one of these little boxes represents 3 months, because it's a 9-month option. So you can see it's divided into 3 parts from the left to the right. Now, you can see that as time passes from left to the right, the extrinsic value disappears a little bit. In the first 3 months, only lost 15 cents out of this dollar, only 15% of the extrinsic value. That makes the price of the option $7.85 if my math is still razor sharp. By the end of the second month, you can see that by the end of the 6 months, what only gives us 3 months left before expiration, you can see that we lost 40 cents. So again, my math, it's razor sharp. $7.40 would be the price of this option, assuming that the underlying stock did nothing and it stayed at the same price, just time passed. In the third section right here, representing month 6 through 9, so in the last 3 months before expiration, you can see that all of the remaining extrinsic value, the remaining 60 cents, disappears. You see how that picks up and accelerates? That shows how the option loses value as we get closer to the expiration date. That's called time decay. Time decay accelerates as time passes, especially in the last 3 months, and especially in the last 1 month. There were 9 months before expiration here. You see that. This is very important, because when we're talking about buying, calls or puts that expire in a year or so, if we're talking about just 9 months out, we have a call option or a put option that expires in 9 months. You can see right here, it's only going to lose a small amount of money because time passed for the first 3 months. The further the options are out, the less time passing is going to affect it. Ron's going to tell you a little bit later about how volatility impacts these options a little bit more. But just we're talking about time passing, time decay. It doesn't affect the months that are further out, like 9 months out. Once you get to about the 3rd month, it picks up tremendously. In 6 months here, we lost only 40%. In the last 3 months, we lost the remaining 60%. So Let's look at this in real life now. Here's Newmont Mining. It's the option chain, and you can see the stock itself is quoted at the top here, 47.04. The options are at the bottom half. So let's look at the bottom option here. It's at $7.85 by $8 a share. It's the 40 strike call option. It gives us the right to buy at 40. So to make math simple, let's just say that the stock is at 47. The option's trading at $8 per share. So if the stock's at 47 and the 40 call is at 8, then how much of that $8 call is intrinsic? How much is extrinsic? Remember, stock's at 47. This gives us the right to buy at 40. How much is intrinsic? $7 of immediate value. So it's $7 of intrinsic value. The $8 there, that last $1, is extrinsic value. It's the part that's determined by the amount of time left on the option. It's just the real version of what we just looked at in the little image. So it's $7 of intrinsic value, $7 of immediate benefit. It's $7 in the money. $1 of extrinsic, or $1 of time value, $1 that can be affected by time decay. Here's a chart of the stock that we were just looking at, just to drill this in your head, and I promise I won't make you look at this too many more times. But the stock price is 40, the call lets us buy, the stock price is 47, the call lets us buy at 40. You can see the stock at 47 gives us $7 of immediate value. And then there's another $1 at the top that gives us the $8 price that we were just looking at. So last time I show you that, I know you might be bored of that image and everything, but it's super important. Assuming the stock doesn't move and it stays at $47 for the next 9 months, this is what's going to happen to the value of the call option over the last 9 months. You can see, this is a chart that dates back for about 6 months. So let's just say the stock stays at $47. There's a little image that we were just looking at with the $1 of extrinsic value at the top. Stock stays at 47. That red part at the top, that extrinsic value, is going to disappear. Your option gives you the right to buy at 40. So that intrinsic value does not change. Now, stock goes down to 45. That green part's going to go down to 45, and you're going to have $5 of intrinsic value. Anything that the option is quoted at in terms of the price is all going to be extrinsic value past $5, assuming the stock's at $45. So intrinsic value is always the amount that the option's in the money by. Rest is extrinsic, and that's the part that's affected by the two big variables. The two major influences in the change of intrinsic value are time passing, causing the erosion of the extrinsic value, aka time value, and volatility, historic volatility and implied volatility, which is basically how investors expect the underlying stock or ETF to be in the near future. So again, when you trade options with lots of extrinsic value, you're betting more on how soon something is going to happen, and you're betting whether the volatility is going to increase or decrease. There's a number of different options that you can trade. Some are going to be impacted by the other two variables a lot, and others will be minimally impacted by time or volatility. And like I said, Ron's going to show you which is which. This one's going to be more impacted by time passing and volatility. This one's going to be less impacted by time passing and volatility. Ron's going to show you he's going to show you how that works, and I'm going to keep talking to you about how this works on the website. So now let's talk about the price of options that don't expire for a long time versus the price of options that are about to expire, and everything in between that. As time till expiration increases, in other words, the further out the expiration month is, the more expensive calls and puts are going to be. So let's take a quick look at a real example again. Apple Computer, this is how it's going to look in real life. These are the Apple Computer options. Basically, you have June, July, October, January. Remember, we said that these options are wasting assets. Why are they considered wasting assets? They're considered wasting assets because they have an expiration date. They're going to disappear at some point in time. They're going to expire. So an option that's out of the money, in other words, an option that only has extrinsic value, has to be worthless at expiration. If it's worthless, it means that the extrinsic value went by the wayside, it eroded over time, time decay took its toll, and anybody who owned it is very unhappy. The seller is very happy. Once again, you have to understand, time decay is attached to only extrinsic value. Intrinsic value never decays. Stock might trade down or up. It might take away or add to the intrinsic value of your option, but neither time or volatility is going to take away from your intrinsic value. It's only going to take away from extrinsic value. Now, we just talked about the fact that options are a wasting asset. So take a look at the screen here. Let me just show you. We'll focus on the calls and we'll focus on the puts, both of which. All right? Now, the calls that expire in June, that give you the right to buy this stock at 135. Stock right now is at 135.81. That's of minor importance to what I'm trying to tell you here. But this does give you the right to buy the stock at 135, which is 81 cents in the money. This expires in June. It's trading at 530. This one expires in July. It's trading at 820. And the further out you go in time, the more expensive the option is going to be. All of these options give you the right to buy at $135 a share. All of these options give you the right to sell at $135 a share. You can see the puts also get more expensive the more time there is before expiration. So if you want to, we know there's a lot of extrinsic value in all of these at the monies, because in every single one of these 135 strikes, there's only 81 cents, because the stock's at 135.81, strike price is 135, only 81 cents of intrinsic value. So aside from 81 cents, the entire value of all of these options is extrinsic. So this is all being charged to you because of the fact that there's going to be a lot of time before they expire. This one's only a little bit of time before they expire. So they're all related to the amount of time that the option has before the expiration date. Now, just by studying this option chain, you can see what would happen as time passes to these options. You can see at the top of the date here, the picture was taken at, May 29th of 2009. And you can see the at-the-money calls, 135 strike. Take a look at what would happen to the option values over time. Basically, since this is May, we're looking at the June option. This is what's called the front month. But in, let's just say, 30 days from now, this is what the July option is going to be trading at, $5.30. So all you have to do is really look at the option that expires 30 days later to find out what this option would be priced at. In other words, here's the July call option trading at 820. Where's that going to be trading at 30 days? Well, we can find out. We just fast forward in time. The June options have that much time left. June options are at 530. So if all other facts, all the other variables remain the same, volatility remains the same in the stock price is just about the same price, we know that in 30 days, this $8.20 option is going to be trading at about 530. We're going to know that when we we're just about to enter into the month of October, let's say we're in the end of September instead of we're in the end of May. In the end of September, we know that this $14.20 option is going to be trading right around 530. We know in the end of December of this year, this January option is going to be trading right around 530. So, that pretty much gives you an idea of how the extrinsic value erodes over time. All right, let's do a quick exercise. Let's take a look at a different option chain. Now, this is, it's just a different color, same information, same data. Now, take a look. See if you can find the extrinsic and the intrinsic value for the May 180 calls. Can you find it? Take a minute. You can see that, the options bid at 760, the ask is 775. What you want to keep in mind, I'm going to give you a hint. You have a strike price, 180, stock price, 184.73. So you can see right there where there's an intrinsic value of this. How much intrinsic value do we have in the May 180 call? Well, you can see that since the stock's at 184.73, strike price is 180, immediately you know that there's $4.73 of immediate value. You know that you can buy the stock at 180 at that strike, sell it at 184.73. You know there's $4.73 of intrinsic value. Didn't even need to know what it's actually trading at the time to figure that part out. So if I sell the stock at 184.73 and I bought it back at 180, you're looking at it a little bit differently. If I short the stock at 184.73, I buy it back at 180 using those calls, I have an immediate benefit of 473. So the option has $4.73 of intrinsic value. But Is the option trading at $4.73? No, it's not. Options trading on the bid anyway for $7.60. So what's the difference there? That differential is the extrinsic value. So it's the amount of value of the option that's over and above the intrinsic value that we just figured out was $4.73. So we can use our immediate benefit routine to figure out how much intrinsic value is in the option, take the option price, subtract the intrinsic value, and now we know exactly how much our extrinsic value is in that option. Since the option's traded at $7.60 by $7.85, you can take the mid value, which they call here the mark value, $7.67. We can call it $7.68, and that's what the option trades at. And we know that there's $4.73 immediate value or intrinsic value. So that means that there must be $2.95 extrinsic, because the immediate $4.73 take away or subtracted from $7.68 is $2.95. So that's the amount that our options value that will be subtracted or will be subject to decay. It'll decay over time. It'll be at the mercy of the process called time decay. Let's do another exercise. Make sure you really drill this into your head. You'll have these basics down, and then you're gonna be able to take the next part of the course. We're just talking about strategies and pricing. So, May 185 calls. Let's do the same thing with the May 185 calls. Let's take a quick look. You have May 185 calls over here. You can see they're trading at 470 by 475, average price 472. So we're going to do the same thing. Now, last thing we're going to talk about is these other pricing variables. We're going to get to that in a minute. First, we're just going to talk about intrinsic and extrinsic value. How much intrinsic value do we have in the May 185 calls? Now, I'm going to give you a minute, or I'm going to give you only a few seconds. Stocks at 184.73. How much intrinsic value do we have in May 185 calls? We have zero. There is no intrinsic value here. You can see this is trading at 470 on the bid. There's no immediate value to buying it at 185. If we buy it at 185, we're going to sell 184.73. We're going to lose a little bit of money. So that doesn't make any sense for us to do. So this is still trading at 470 by 475. That means the entire 475 here would be extrinsic value. Now, obviously, when we get into the pricing model, we can really move on to getting deeper into this. But I want to at least give you a peek at the concept generally and the definition of volatility and things like that. Now, the last thing that we're going to be talking about is these other pricing variables. Now, obviously, when we get into the pricing model in the advanced section, then we can really move on to getting into these things a lot deeper. But I just want to give you a sneak peek, and I want to at least give you just a quick peek at the concept generally and the definition of what these things are. Now, like I said, in the stock market, there's only one variable that needs to be controlled. That's supply and demand. The only thing you have to think about when it comes to stock. You might sit there and give me a billion reasons why supply has increased and demand dried up, and then the stock goes down. Or you might give me 1.5 billion reasons why demand has increased suddenly and supply has dried up. Stock goes up. Ultimately, what it comes down to, though, is supply and demand. In the stock market, it's only one factor that you have to think about. Now, you see, in the options market, there's more than just one factor that moves the price of the option. Of course, the options price is being derived from the underlying stock. But that portion that's derived from the underlying stock is just the intrinsic value of our option. Like we said, there's more than just one value. There's intrinsic and extrinsic. So we know that our option has both. Now, it's got intrinsic from the underlying stock when it's in the money, but it's also got its extrinsic. And that extrinsic value is based upon, first, time. The more time to expiration, like we said, the more expensive the calls and puts are going to be. Now, if you look at a single strike price, you look at the front month, and then you look across all the months heading out like we did, you're going to notice that your calls and your puts are going to increase in value, like the exercise we just went through. The more time there is, the more expensive the options are. And I'm going to show you why that's true when we talk about the pricing model, when we get a little bit deeper into the value of time. The second variable is volatility. Now remember, options have three major factors. The underlying, which we've been discussing this whole time, that's your intrinsic value. But then time and this, volatility. Time and volatility make up your extrinsic value. So that you know, time and volatility work hand in hand. Now, volatility is an enormous part of how options are priced at whatever price they happen to trade at. In fact, volatility has the most impact on the extrinsic value of an option by far. As volatility increases, and this is the general rule of thumb, you can write it down, as volatility increases, the price of all options across the board are going to increase. So think about car insurance. When the driver appears to be volatile or crazy or wild, and what the insurance company is going to do is the insurance company is going to make the driver pay more money, more premium, or a higher price for the contract. Ron's going to show you more later when we talk about the pricing model. I'm just giving you the basics. So basically, as volatility increases in the underlying stock or ETF or what have you, the option prices will expand. On the flip side, as volatility decreases, the price of all the options are going to decrease across the board. So keep this in mind. Very important, because when we start talking about all these other strategies, you're going to see why, as a seller, if you get beat by rising volatility, you don't have to react and get out real quick. It'll eventually, it'll come right back down, probably just as fast as it went up. Now, here you see an option. The option's trading at $2.90. It's a 9-month option, similar to what we were looking at. Now, here's what happens when volatility decreases. You might have a stock that's, trading up and down by 15% a day, like we saw in, the crash of 2008. And then eventually, after we got to the bottom of the crash in, November, stocks kind of settled down. So, what we're looking at here is an option that's priced at $2.90. It's $2 in the money. Now, you can see how time, it erodes, and that time decay process significantly accelerates right here. But what happens if volatility drops? It might look more like this. So it still might be 2 points in the money, but the stock kind of calms down. So if a stock is trading up and down 10 or 15% a day, like we saw when the market crashed in 2008, an option that's 2 points in the money might be priced at $2.90 with a bunch of extrinsic value. But that extrinsic value declines. If the stock goes like this and eventually settles down into a tighter range, the same option that's priced 2 points in the money is going to look more like this. Okay, so we pretty much covered just about everything in terms of options basics. There's a couple things that I want to go over before I let you go. I gave you a sneak peek at volatility so you can have an idea of what you're going to be talking about with Ron. But before I let you go, I want to talk about, first I want to do a quick review of calls and puts, but I also want to talk about how you would actually go about entering these orders, because it's different depending on the brokerage platform that you use. And so I just want to give you a full education here. First, we'll review what a call option is. Call options give the owner of the call option, the person who bought the call option, call options give the owner of the call option the right to buy a stock at a certain price. So if I have a call option that gives you the right to buy stock at 45, that means it's the 45 strike price, and I can buy the stock at 45 anytime between now and the time that that option expires. Now, there's a term that you might hear out there, calling away. And what that means is, let's just say I own the stock, I'm long the stock, and I also decide to sell a call option. I sell someone the right to buy my stock at, let's just say, $45 a share. Well, if I'm assigned on my short call, what's going to happen is I'm going to have my stock called away from me. So again, if I'm the seller of a call option, let's just say I own stock in my account, I own IBM in my account, and I sell someone a call option. I sell them the right to call the stock away from me at the strike price. So if this person up here who's long the stock option decides that they want to exercise their call option, I'm going to get assigned, and my stock is going to be called away from me. It's going to leave my account. All right, let's go over put options, just a quick review. Put options give the right for the buyer or the owner or the person who is long the put option, they give that person the right to sell a stock at a specific price, the strike price, before the option expires. So again, put options, in an example, we'll use the strike price of 20. If I am long a put option, I bought a put option, I own a put option, and it gives me the right to sell the stock at 20. That means 20 is the strike price. That means any time between now and the time that that option expires, I have the right to put the stock to somebody at 20, and that's a term that you might hear. Let's think about it from the seller's perspective. Now, if I'm selling an option, we'll use the same strike price, 20. What I sell somebody is the right to sell me their stock at 20. So this guy up here is long the put option. He bought the right to sell me stock at 20. If this person who owns this put option decides to exercise their right, what they're going to do is they're going to put the stock to me at 20. And that's the terminology that you might hear when people talk about putting the stock back to the seller of the option. Seller of the option gets assigned. The person who was long the option puts the stock back to me, the seller. All right. We're going to talk now about something that you might or might not have to use depending on the brokerage firm that you use. Now, there are a lot of brokerage firms out there that do not ask you to indicate whether you're buying to open or selling to open and vice versa. But we're going to talk about it just in case you work with one of these brokers. Now, I told you before that you can buy first and sell to close out your position a little bit later. And I also said that you can sell first and then buy to close out your position a little bit later. Now, you can either buy to open. If you're buying something to open the transaction with a buy order, what you're doing is you're spending money. So it's a debit trade. You're long an option. However, if you sell to open, you're going to enter the order in some brokerage firms. Literally, you're going to hit sell, and then you're going to have to hit the drop-down menu to open. If you're shorting an option, you're selling to open, it's a credit trade. You're the person who's receiving money, and you usually have an infinite risk and a limited reward. So you buy to open. It means you're opening the transaction by purchasing something. It's a debit trade. If you're selling to open, it's a credit trade. You're receiving money, and later on, you'll be closing that out by buying to close. Closing the position. You're going to buy to close. If you sold to open, you received hopefully $5, and now that option trades down to 1. When you buy it back, you're going to buy it to close. You're closing out the transaction. You're closing out your obligation, and you're saying that I have no more involvement. I don't promise to do anything in the future. I'm buying back my option. I'm buying it to close. Hopefully, you took a profit on that because the option moved lower. Or you can sell to close, which is a little bit more traditional. You know, people are used to this. I don't want to say traditional because I don't want to get you more comfortable with one or the other. You can make money on both sides, okay? When you sell to close, what that means is sometime earlier, you bought to open. When you bought to open, you paid money. It's a debit trade. You bought to open. Hopefully, that option moved up. Then when you sell it, you might have to indicate that you're selling to close. You're selling the transaction to close. That's it. You're closing out the position. So again, just look at the table. You buy to open, and then you sell to close when you get out. Or else you sell to open, you receive money, and then you buy to close when you want to close out that position. That's pretty much it for options basics. Now, before you move on to the next part, go to optionsgps.com. And what you can do there is you can find a bunch of your peers, people that just learned the same exact thing that you learned. You can talk to them in the community, in the forum, and you can check out whatever other goodies that you might find on optionsgps.com. When you feel comfortable with what you just learned, then go on to the next DVDs. And I'll see you there.